Hello everyone, I am Atul Dahale and welcome to my Incredible Chess channel. Today we are going to learn something very interesting that is related to the chess opening principles. Yes guys, we all know this thing that in the opening phase we need to develop our pieces, we should control the center, king safety is very important. But sometimes what happens after the initial moves, we forget about these things and we just try to play something random. Sometimes we play h3 move in order to stop the bishop g4 pin. We think that that is a very cool idea to play and we just play it without even thinking about what we can do instead of that. So all these kind of things happen in our game and we end up in a very bad situation. So today we are going to see a very interesting example where white plays h3 move and black in return plays h6 move. So who is good in that position, whether the player who is playing h3 is a better player or whether the player who is playing h6 in order to counter against h3 is playing something interesting. So we are going to learn all of these things, so stay tuned with me till the end and enjoy this video. You will be learning lots of things, I guarantee you. If you like this video, share this video with your friends, and if you are new to this channel, then subscribe to my channel. So let's begin with today's game. The game was played way back in 1928 guys, between two not that famous players, you can say. Their names were Liberoski and Sultanbayev. The game started with e4, black played e5, knight f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4 and bishop c5. Well, this is a Jokopian opening, we all know this thing, and white plays c3 move. Of course, the idea of c3 is to play d4 and conquer the center. So here black decides to go back on b6 square, which is also a possibility. Another thing which I would like to tell you, that knight of 6 is a very interesting option. d4, c capture, e captures d4, c captures d4, and now you give bishop to b4 check. And well, white has several moves, means two main moves here: bishop to d2, knight to c3. According to me, bishop d2 is the safest choice, because after this capture, black might play d5. After this capture, I think the position is stable and it is kind of equalized position. One more thing I would like to tell you, that in the opening phase, what you should be aiming for is like controlling the center. This is something which you should always try to do. Another thing in the opening phase we should try to do is develop your pieces as quickly as possible. And the most important thing in the opening phase, I feel like, that is you should always try to keep your king safe. Okay, so we'll go further. In the game, bishop b6 was played, and now white decided to play d4, which is a very obvious move because white is trying to control the center in the position. Now black plays queen to e7, and here I would like to tell you the tempting move, that is d5, is not that cool, because knight will be falling back in this position to b8 square, and the bishop, which was kind of blocked earlier, will be opened up in this situation. And I think like black should be very happy in that position, because the knight on b8 is here just for temporary, because on the next move you can play d6, bishop might be coming out, and then knight d7 followed by knight c5 is always one interesting idea in this position. Okay, so I hope that you are understanding. Okay, so we'll go further. In the game, white decided to just castle in the position, and then black played knight to f6, putting some pressure on the pawn on e4 square. Here normally I will say like the moves like bishop to g5, just pinning the knight, just developing a piece, or even to play rook to e1, supporting the pawn on e4 square, or sometimes even knight d2 is also a decent move. But here what happened is like white played a move which is not that good. He played the move that was d5. The drawback of this move is like he is blocking his own bishop on c4 square and opening up the bishop on b6 square, which will be hitting the pawn on f2, and that might be very dangerous for white in this position. Okay, we'll see further what happens. Maybe here white was anticipating that black might play knight to a5, which is a mistake, because the bishop will go back to support the pawn on e4 square, and the deadly threat of b4 is there, where the knight on a5 will be trapped. That's why they say that knight on the rim is dream, and we should not really play the knight in the corner of the board. Well, black was aware of this thing and black played knight to b8. Okay, as I mentioned earlier also, the knight is not going to be there forever. d6 followed by bishop moves, and then maybe knight d7, knight c5 is always on the cards. Here black, after knight b8, bishop to d3 was played in order to support the pawn on e4 square. Here d6 was played. The idea is to play bishop g4 and pin the knight. And many a times what happens is like we get scared of this pin and we say like, oh, we cannot really allow this kind of pin and it will be very difficult for me, so just play h3 and safeguard everything, right? The bishop g4 will not be coming. But by playing like this kind of moves, you are giving a target to your opponent. The pawn on h3 is a target, potential target you can say. And here, as I was talking about, black decided to play h6. Before we go further about all the complications and intricacies of the game, I would like to say that here the simple move bishop g5 was a possibility. Even if you play bishop to g4 pinning the knight on f3, white can play knight to d2 supporting the knight, the queen can come to c2 square, and the pin will be gone. I think like white is kind of decent in this position. But the move which was played in the game h3 followed by h6, the point of h6 is to attack, not to just to stop bishop g5. Of course bishop g5 is being stopped, but the idea is to play rook to g8 followed by g5 g4 on opening up the king side here in this position, and white might be in trouble. Well, black is not completely winning. White can definitely defend the position. Here queen e2 was played. I think still in this position bishop e3 can be played, or even knight d2 followed by knight to c4 neutralizing this bishop on b6 was a possibility. But he played queen to e2 in this position. After queen to e2, black decided to go for the offense and he played g5. Of course the threat is very easy, that black wants to play g4 at g4. So in order to stop g4, here white decided to play knight to h2. Well, black still went for g4 move in this position, because the thing is that after h captures g4, here black has a move that is rook to g8, attacking the pawn on g4 square with 3 pieces. And you can see white has only 2 pieces, the queen on e2 and the knight on h2. These are the 2 pieces who are supporting the pawn on g4, black, whereas attacking the pawn on g4 with rook, knight and the bishop in this position. Of course you have more attackers in this position. Black is threatening to open up the position, so white should have played bishop to e2, neutralizing this bishop, because the bishop on b6 looks like okay, it is not doing that much, but it is actually going to play a big part in the game. Okay, so white should have played bishop to e3, neutralizing this bishop. Maybe knight captures g4, knight captures g4, bishop captures g4 can be played, and in this position white can defend himself with the move like f3, because now even if you play bishop h3, rook f2 is a move by which you can defend the pawn on g2 square. But what happened in the game, that he did not play bishop to e3, he captured the pawn on h6, which was a very greedy move. I will say we should not be greedy in chess. I have even made one video about that, greedy in chess, what you should do. Do check it out, that video about the opening principles. I'll be giving the link in the description for that reference. Okay, black went on to play knight captures g4. Here if you capture on g4, bishop captures g4, you cannot play f3 move because the bishop is pinning the pawn on f2. And now if you move the queen, let's suppose you go to e1, d2, wherever you play, bishop f3 is a very good idea. The pawn on g2 is under attack. Even if you play g3, the queen is going to come on h4 square, the queen h1, checkmate is there. The pawn on g3 cannot capture the queen because there is a pin here. And well, bishop rook into g3 is also a threat in this position, because again the pawn on f2 cannot capture because there is a pin in this position. So this game I will say like it's kind of full of pins, and white is not able to do anything in this situation. Okay, so that's the thing, like knight into g4 was a possibility, but he did not go for it because obviously the checkmate threat was there. Here white realized very late that he should exchange the bishop, so he played bishop to e3. And now I will say like it is too late, because black just captured on h2, king captures h2, then he brought the queen in the game, and now king g1, and now he played queen to h3. The pawn on g2 is under attack, rook captures g2 or queen captures g2 is a checkmate, so f3 is the only move by which you can support the pawn on g2 square. But we have a very simple move, that is bishop captures e3 check. If the queen captures, then of course rook g2 or queen g2 is a checkmate. And now in this position, if you play rook to f2, then also it's a checkmate with queen g2. Okay, one last move which is left is that what happens if white plays g3. Well, I will say like if you think in this position, you will get the move, that is rook to h1, because after rook h1 what is happening, queen h1 or queen h2 is a checkmate. Here white can be a little bit tricky and he might play f3, anticipating that if you play queen to h1, then king f2 and king e1 will be escape square. But okay, in that position also you will be winning with queen up position, that is this position. But I will say there is a better way to play in this position without allowing the white's king to escape. We can just simply capture on e3. Queen needs to capture, or rook f2. Even if you play, then queen h1 is a checkmate, and if queen captures e3, then queen h2 is a checkmate. So this is how the game got over, and I hope that you understood uh, the importance of developing your pieces, as well as what really happens when you play h3. And well, black played h6 in this position, but the intention of h6 was to attack on the opponent, not for the defense. So intention behind the moves matter a lot, and I will say, like, if you are going for the attack, it is the best thing in the world, and that will definitely give you lots of chances. And black actually won the game because his pieces were very active in the position. The two bishops, queen, knight, rook, everything was active, and that's why he won the game. So make sure that in the opening phase you should activate your pieces and play with all your pieces. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. We'll be meeting very soon with next video. Till then, take care, goodbye, and love you all. Thank you.